So, yeah, I just had some more thoughts on this whole evisceration process and how it sort of works. So, back in the day, if you were gay or lesbian or whatever, you felt that you were a man stuck in a woman's body or a woman stuck in a man's body, you were heavily oppressed. It was a case of your life was barely worth living and you had to pretend that you were normal like everybody else, like say back in the 50s or even in the 60s, it was like that. Now, all of a sudden, what we have is the exact opposite. We're all having it rammed down our throats that unless you're gay or lesbian or bisexual or transgender, if you're just a regular heterosexual woman or man, then you're just all wrong. You're all wrong. See, now that creates cognitive dissonance. That creates a kind of anti-force. It does that, and they do this all the time. Now you have transgender or transsexual people in bookshops giving story time, reading story time to little children, or in schools giving sexual education. Whereas like 40 years ago, that would have been unthinkable. 40 years ago, everybody was quite staid. Obviously, the 60s happened. That was a whole sort of engineered event as well, because they knew that there was kind of an awakening going on. Something was brewing in the ether. And they thought, oh, can't have that. So let's take that energy and funnel it into something that suits our agenda, which is what they did. So from a society that was very, very strict, quite draconian, very religious, the sanctity of the nuclear family and whatnot, it went to sexual liberation, meaning free love, which has nothing to do with love. It was just about people having sex with anyone, anywhere, at any time. The baby boomers, loads of children born out of these types of liaisons, lots of venereal disease, and you got to wonder about that as well. Why is it that having sex comes with such a price tag? Why do we have all these sexual diseases, gonorrhea, chlamydia, syphilis, which still exists as well? There's loads of, herpes, you name it. Why? Why? Why the fuck do we get sick from having sex? That's an interesting one. So we went from, what it was like in the 50s to the 60s and in the 70s, which is a very, very different landscape. Morally speaking, very different. And they say, oh, that's freedom. Now, people, that's freedom. Whereas before, freedom was to see all of that as horribly, horribly wrong, horribly devious, and run, off to church, fear the Lord thy God. Then we go to churches are empty. All of a sudden, nobody goes to church anymore, and everybody's practicing free love and abortions, and using the pill, taking the pill so that you don't get pregnant. It caused, in the 70s, a load of health problems associated with the pill. Thrombosis, depression, all kinds of problems. Because, of course, Big Pharma, anything Big Pharma gives you is likely to fuck you up one way or another. That caused, these types of things cause ripples of fear, uncertainty and chaos, in society, in the concentration camp. It is an experiment, right? First we have them living in fear and going to church, and this is all wrong, you can't be gay, you can't be a lesbian, and God, we must go to church. We have morals here, and the next thing you know, people seem to have almost had like a moral lobotomy, because everyone does as they damn well please. And now I don't have a problem with people doing as they damn well please, but don't ram it down my throat. All of a sudden, people in school, children are being told, so you like wearing trousers, do you, little Annie? You like wearing trousers? You're probably really a boy, that's why. In fact, yes, you better come and see the school counsellor, who will reinforce that idea. You know, a little Annie goes home and says to Mummy and Daddy, well, I want to be called Edward from now on because I'm really a boy, because they taught me so at school. It's because I like wearing trousers. I'm a bit of a tomboy, so I'm really a boy, but I'm stuck in a girl's body. I want a sex change. I read an article the other day about a significant proportion of people that have had sex change operations, gender reassignment. You see, this is what they do. They give it this nice terminology. Oh, gender reassignment. You can't reassign gender. Your DNA will say you're a woman or you're a man. That's it. End of. But hey, gender reassignment, you know, lots of people have had them that deeply regret having had them. They're on a massive regimen of little pills that they have to take every day, because otherwise their natural tendencies of their bodies will reassert themselves, and you know, so that's a problem that makes them very sick. Loads of health problems there, but hey, Big Pharma's making money, so that's all right then. And of course these operations cannot be reverted. They can't fix what's been done, so they're stuck with it, you know, but nobody ever hears about that. That's all kept very, very quiet, all right? Then we get the sort of like the social justice movements and the social justice warriors. There was this woman online, and she looked, was it Beauty and the Beast, the Disney version of Beauty and the Beast, and there was this the evil, was it the Little Mermaid? I can't remember, but she was really fat, and she had this purple hair tuft. Well, this woman looked just like that. It was scary, the evil sea witch. And she was, whoa, you know, and they're all there screaming and spitting and clawing. We want justice, yes, we want justice. Whatever justice means to these people, we have no idea, because, well, it's always about something contrived, because they're given it. They're manipulated, they're given, this is what you want. That is what justice is. So go and spread and, you know, go out there and protest and scream and get really angry and post yourself all over the place and, you know, whatever. And of course this always has a massive backlash. It agitates people. We are all being agitated all the time because they create these grassroots movements, and they're always of a certain energetic nature, you know, like agitation and chaos. And there's always an anti-force, because a large segment of the population gets very upset, of course, when their daughter or their son comes home saying, Mummy, I'm really a man, or I'm really a woman and I want a sex change. Or comes home and says that, oh, we had this man, well, a woman, a man, I'm not really sure, Mummy. I think it was a him, but he kind of looked like a woman. Yes. And telling us that it was really good to have S&M sex, and that it's perfectly fine to have sex when you're 10. Of course, that's natural. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. So yeah, social justice warriors, and it's very narcissistic. It's all about virtue signaling. They don't really care about justice. They just want attention. Look at me, me. Selfie, selfie, selfie. You know, women's lib. Oh boy. So what exactly has that meant? What has it done for us? Women's liberation. I don't believe women should be chained in the kitchen barefoot and pregnant, obviously. No, I don't. But freedom comes from within. It doesn't come from being able to vote for puppets of the Illuminati and the New World Order. It doesn't come from that. You know, women are women and men are men. I don't have a problem with that. I don't want to be a man, and I feel perfectly free to express myself and to be a woman. And it's weird. It's like now women want to be boxers, and they want to be a football player, and they want to be I don't know, it's just like, I want to be an executive. Women want to be men. Women basically want to be men. Look at Maggie Thatcher. If that's women's lib for you, then they can keep it. Because Maggie Thatcher was like, well, maybe she was a transgender. I mean, she was probably transsexual. She was probably called Edward when she was little. And she had yeah, and that was it. And she was Maggie. That wouldn't surprise me. You know, we get like the Spice Girls, you know. The Spice Girls, that's women's lib. Yeah. That's women's lib, because for women to be liberated, apparently, they have to be thin, they have to be a bit stupid, blondes. See, he thinks that too. Oh, that's right, darling. Come and say hello. That's what women's lib is all about. It's about wearing false eyelashes and being a social justice warrior, and screaming and shouting and starving yourself. It's about being a supermodel. That's women's lib. If you're only average looking or considered ugly, see, and here we go again, it's the beauty myth, isn't it? It's always about women. What constitutes good looking? What's beauty? Beauty magazines, Cosmopolitan. This is beauty. This is what it looks like. This is beautiful. We're given that as well. We're force-fed our idea of what is beautiful. Well, a beautiful face is perfect symmetry. Perfect symmetry. Large eyes. And then you find out what they do, how they Photoshop these models, and you see what they actually look like. I used to know quite a few models back in the day in London, and I'm telling you now, they looked weird. And they did not look the way they did on photos, because they were completely Photoshopped. It's always an ideal that cannot actually be reached. And it's the same with porn, you know, it gives men an idea of this is what women are and that's what sex should be like. And so young boys, you know, so they're completely dysfunctional. They don't understand how to have a relationship with women. They don't know how to relate to women. They see women as objects, similar like to, I don't know, a doll, inflatable doll that you can play around with or something. They don't have an emotional connection to women. They don't know how. It's putrid. That has nothing to do with liberation. That has everything to do with mental evisceration and slavery to the false self. It's bullshit. Girl power, heroin chic. Do you remember that? These models, they were so painfully thin and they all had eating disorders. So all of a sudden, it was fashionable to have an eating disorder. So you had millions of women eating food, cramming it down their necks, and then 10 minutes later you'd hear the sound of retching above toilet bowls throughout the nation because, yeah, oh, I have an eating disorder. Yes, it's marvellous. Oh, it's great. I'm so happy. You know, and then you get the fact that everything is commercialised, right? So back in the 70s we had punk, which actually was from the onset commercial because it was Vivienne Westwood and Malcolm McLaren who came up with that. But a lot of people, for a lot of people, it meant making a statement. It meant fuck the Queen, right? God save the Queen, she ain't no human being. It was a type of rebellion, but it's funneled that way because that kind of rebellion doesn't pose a threat to the powers that be. It has nothing to do with awakening and taking back your power. It's all about self-mutilation and taking shitloads of drugs and dying young. You know, the 27 Club or the 26 Club or something, you know, where everybody dies really young. And isn't it cool to die young, guys? Yay, it's brilliant. I'll sleep when I'm dead. My God. You know, so now, all of a sudden, everybody's dyeing their hair blue and purple and orange and green. Right? Fucking 75-year-old grannies walking around with green hair because all of a sudden, hey, it's cool. It never really meant anything anyway, but this is it. This is the game that they play with us. The war on drugs, that's another one of these clever things, the war on drugs. And we have those drug tsars that, oh, they're going to stop it all from happening and nobody will take any drugs. But it's fine for an entire school full of little kiddies to be pumped full of Ritalin. It's fine for soldiers guarding all the opium fields in fucking Afghanistan, where I think it's something like 70% of the population of Afghanistan are so heavily addicted to opium. I mean, their babies are addicted to opium, their children are addicted to opium. The streets are full of people just lying about in various stages of intoxication. It's fucking appalling. And there is more heroin on the streets of America, Australia, Europe now than back in the 70s. And I mean, the going was good in the 70s if you were into fucking brown, believe me. But now it's like, whoa, yeah, there's shitloads of it. And it's cheap. It's cheap, people. And hey, if you can't get hold of that, just go to your doctor and tell him that you have a bit of a pain in your hair. Doctor, my hair really hurts. Ouch, ouch. Oh, no worries, here. And the next thing you know, there you are with your fucking Percocet and your Vicodin and your this and your that and your oxycodone. And what do you know? You know, 6 months later and you're turning tricks on the corner of the street because your doctor is no longer believing the story about your hair hurt and you're no longer getting the Percocet and the Vicodin and you're now having to buy the brown and shooting it up. And then you meet that nice meth dealer with that nice little lab in his garage. I mean, if you see what that shit does to people, it is terrifying. Beautiful 25-year-old woman starts taking meth. 5 years later, she looks like she's about 75 and needs a Zimmer frame. It's terrifying. This moral decline, this total and utter chaos was all by design. They're so clever. They do this all the fucking time. Now we have we have these people, for example, I'm an amputee, I just know that I am. And they go to the hospital and they say, doctor, I need you to cut off my leg because I know in my heart of hearts that I am an amputee. I am meant to be an amputee. It is my life's destiny. In fact, I tell you what, cut off my arms, cut off my leg, cut off my head because I know I'm an amputee. And it's done for them. Or we have euthanasia, which I'm all for in extreme cases. When people are so sick and in pain, yes, they should be put out of their misery. We do it for our animals. But it's now used at a whim. Seriously, in my country, in Holland, it's like, oh, you're feeling a bit down? Do you want an injection? Should we just call it a day? All right, darling, no worries. Right, here, have a cookie. It's mental. The war on drugs, man. I mean, there's more drugs in the world now. And there's a drug called crocodile in Russia, which is unlike, I mean, the horror of it is I mean, you take it once or twice and that's it. You're fucked. Completely fucked. Your bones literally turn to mush. Your skin, the reason it's called crocodile, your skin develops these weird scaly lesions. And people take it. It's incredible. I mean, it makes PCP look like a sugar cube. It really does. Anyway, I don't mean to cheer you all up so much, but I'm just sort of mentioning all this stuff in order to get a point across. That this is how they play us. This is the kind of world that we live in, where we are constantly played. And people can't see it. They can't see it. I mean, yes, you get people, like I spoke to a lady in a hospital years ago and she was amazing. She was there in World War II and went through all kinds of things. And she was with the underground, you know, kind of in Jersey. She lived on Jersey where they were, you know, they had the Germans, but she met this German soldier and fell in love. And long story short, they married and she moved to Germany and saw loads of shit there. And then they moved back to England and they had loads of shit there because he was German and nobody liked him. But anyway, she was amazing. She was quite old, very old. And she couldn't believe the kind of world that she was living in. She couldn't digest it. You know, I said to her, I said, but surely people were very, you know, harsh on each other and very judgmental back in the 40s and the 30s and whatnot. And she said, well, it's true that society was perhaps less permissive of certain behaviors and sexual orientations and whatnot, or unwed mothers. But people were a lot kinder than you're given to believe. Because all these things were there. They were all there and it all existed, and you had clubs where gay people could go, and you had plenty of unwed mothers, and far from it being a society where all of that was, you know, people were actually kinder, milder, and, you know, it was, okay, it was a case of like, right, okay, that's what you are, but, you know, keep it to yourself. Just live your life and do it in a way that, you know, doesn't really, don't shove it under everybody else's nose. And now it's being shoved in our faces all the time, and we're given to believe that if we're heterosexual, there's something wrong with us. See, so that causes trauma. It causes cognitive dissonance. It makes people feel like, what's happening? What's happening? It's trauma. And this is what they do. We have the whole AI agenda, you know, where people want to have implants. They want to look like the Terminator, I think, you know. I'll be back. I don't know, man. And so this is what they do. And this is the kind of world that we live in. You know, it's like pet food. I try and give my cats fresh meat as much as I can. Back in the day they used to, you know, there wasn't such a thing as, oh, you went to the pet shop and you bought pet food. If you look at what's in pet food, you soon realise that you really shouldn't give that to your animals if you love them, because it's full of crap. It's full of sugar, it's full of rust, it's full of preservatives and E-numbers and God knows what else. But then it's the same for human food, isn't it? A lot of the stuff that people consume nowadays, you really couldn't call it food with the best will in the world. You couldn't do that because it isn't. It's not really food. It's made up of chemicals and weird stuff that we have no idea where it comes from. And it might taste really nice, but if it glows in the dark, you probably shouldn't eat it. Anyway, it's hard to keep our centre in this world full of insanity. It's hard to keep working on the inner planes, as it were, and to learn slowly but surely to regain your true self, so that you can trust your own judgment, so that you learn to trust your intuition, so that you you know, overcome addictions. It's tough, it's very hard. I know this from experience, as you all know, with the smoking, but I'm not giving up on that. It's hard to come off medication that you know is really, really bad for you. You know that you're going to have to go through shit to purge it out of your system. It's difficult to wean yourself off a toxic diet. It's difficult to walk away from toxic people. It's difficult to walk away from toxic situations. It's difficult to stop watching your favorite TV show when you realize that it's messing with your mind. This is a journey that we're on that requires so much courage, so much strength and inner integrity. But we are walking it, we are doing it, we're not giving up. I don't know where it's all going to go, but I do know this. Well, I don't know it, but I sense it strongly. If we are here and we are capable of awakening so much, then we can see all of that we can learn to love and appreciate ourselves and that which is good and true and beautiful and pure. And we can bring some of that love out into the world. bring it to those that are sold but are struggling, are not yet awake. I'm not saying we shove it down their throat, but just drop these little hints, you know, just seed it. Seed that wisdom, seed that love. Evil does not like the power of love, I know that much. It doesn't like it. Love is magic. It's a powerful force. It's very discerning. It speaks truth. It doesn't shy away from the darkness. It isn't afraid of the darkness. It will call it what it is. But it's not afraid. And I think we will get to a point more and more of not being afraid anymore. The fear will ebb away and the passion will rise within us. Because when you go through so much, eventually you think, you know what? Fuck it. Let it be then. But I know what I am now. I know that I am my true self because I can see all the bullshit. And it's anathema to me. And I am creative and I love myself. And all these naysayers and all these haters no longer affect me so much. And that's a very freeing emotion. It really is. As long as we keep doing the work, as long as we keep journeying within, regardless, and just keep doing that, keep doing the work. We are here for a reason. We're not trapped here indefinitely. Evil is not that powerful. Because if it were, we'd never even be able to have this conversation. Anyway, I'll leave it there. And yeah, I'll see you guys again in a bit. Whenever that might be. Could be tomorrow, could be in 10 years.